Hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. So, today I'm going to be reviewing In the Name of the Father, which is episode 6 of Welcome to Derry, season 1. And I just want to tell everybody, welcome to the show. It's just going to be me tonight. Just go on ahead, comment below, tell me what you guys think of this episode. So, I'll be soloing this one out, and let's go on ahead and let's do this, guys. And hey guys, welcome to the show. So this is gonna be me. I'm gonna be just talking about this episode, what I enjoyed about this episode. I hope that you enjoy what I have here. And also too, Rossie's she was called in to work, so it's just gonna be me today. So let's go ahead, let's talk about this. So after coming off of two massive, intense episodes back to back, I have to say, Welcome to Derry really slams the brakes with In the Name of the Father. This episode slows things way down and really zeroes in the emotional fallout for almost every major character still standing as the Ugly starts getting closer and closer. At its core, the episode is all about the parents, control, love, and breaking point between obedience and survival. And for the series that hasn't always gone full horror every week, this one opens up with some of the most disturbing moments we've ever seen from the show. But I want to talk about this. And it starts off in the 1930s. We actually have a nurse going down into the boiler room, bringing this little girl into the boiler room, and you don't know why this nurse is bringing this girl into the boiler room or anything like that, other than the fact that the girl told her, "Hey, look, Pennywise is supposed to be down here. I'm supposed to be meeting him," and she doesn't really want to go down there. But the nurse is like, "Hey, look, I'm going to take you down there and see what's up." So I also like this. I like the fact that it's in the black and white, where it really heightens the whole entire atmospheric of this episode. It actually feels like the 1930s in this. So that's something I really have to say that I really enjoyed with this episode. But then it goes into this whole entire thing where she finally brings the girl down to the boiler room, and then you see this little balloon. Did you see this balloon just floating towards them? And then you see the shadowy figure in where the boiler room is, and it's actually Pennywise. And Pennywise goes over to the girl and gives her the balloon, and then Mrs. Kirsch, that's actually who the nurse is that we wind up finding out later on in this episode. But it was just horrifying to see that. Hey, Justin, how are you doing? I appreciate you being in the live chat on Instagram. I do appreciate that, bud. But you know, I just felt like this was very, very horrifying to see this. And he grabs the balloon, gives it to her, and then after that, you see Pennywise just chase after her, and then you have the nurse who wants to try and protect her from Pennywise, and then after that, um, the door winds up shutting behind the nurse, and it winds up locking the little girl in there with Pennywise, and he winds up killing Pennywise. And I like how this does it. This actually feels like Sin City in a sense, with the black and white, and then you have the red blood coming through the door. So I actually like that element of it feels like the 1930s because it's in the black and white, because it's very atmospheric, it's very in heightened if you think about it, as far as the look of the black and white is. And then she thinks that she's about to see Bob Gray, which is supposed to be Mrs. Kirsch's father, and it is actually taking the shape of Bob Gray. And that's not her girl. This is not your father. I'm just going to tell you that right now. That's it playing with your emotions and acting like that he's alive when he's not alive. And I said this from the very beginning that Mrs. Kirsch to me is very suspect in this whole entire thing, because I didn't think that here's the thing. I didn't think that she was innocent or anything like that. Why would she keep telling Lily, "Oh, you need to go in ahead and investigate it," and stuff like that? And then come to find out later on in this episode, oh, she was over at the cemetery and she had her a clown costume on from whenever she in the when we were introduced to the thing with with the whole entire thing with the general whenever he was little with little Francis. But I just thought that opening, that cold opening was really scary. It was in Juniper Hills, 1935. And then you also have Will, and it goes into Will listening to Leroy being mad at him for disobeying him. And then I also like how it goes into this whole entire narrative of the fact that um Will doesn't like the fact that he's being held in this base and away from his friends or anything. And he goes, "You see, it's got you too." And he doesn't even realize this. I like how it goes where the camera angles goes over to where the mirror is to actually mirror and project how Will is actually seeing his father and seeing how this town is actually changing him and shaping him into what this town is. So I like that about this show, about the layers that it's pulling from. And I really think that they did a good job with that. And it sets everything up really good for this episode. And then he says, "Hey, look, this was your fault that your friend died because you didn't really care about your friend." I'm not going word for word. I'm not going for verbatim. I'm just paraphrasing. But then Leroy just punches his son, which is way against Leroy's character. So you can definitely tell that the military is getting to him. Not only is the military getting to him, but also the stuff that happened within in the sewers and stuff like that too. So you can definitely tell that there's a lot of weight and a lot of emotion on Leroy and stuff like that too. And then he winds up. He's like, "Look, I'm sorry. I punched you, son. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it or anything like that." And Will winds up running off. And then, of course, Leroy winds up talking to Charlotte. Charlotte goes, "You moved us here into this town and not knowing that what was this town was supposed to be like." And at this moment, Charlotte's thinking about going back to the South, and I don't blame Charlotte. I would want to get my kid the hell on out of here. I would not want him inside that damn base with everything, and then also too in Derry. So that was something that I definitely agree with Charlotte on. And then like I said, Leroy completely snaps after Polly's death in the source. He blames Will for what happened, especially since he warned him not to leave the base. And when Will disobeys him against him immediately, everything explodes. Leroy actually hits his own son. Watching Will hit the ground and cry out, "It's got you too." It's absolutely heartbreaking. And honestly, it almost doesn't even matter if Pennywise had any control over Leroy in that moment. The damage is already done in Will's eyes. His father became a monster right then and there. This moment also gives us one clearest look at the colder version of Leroy we barely saw in It Chapter 1. Both actors crushed this scene, especially Blake Cameron James as Will. You feel every ounce of fear, betrayal, and defiance in that moment. Charlie can't really stop any of it, but that confrontation becomes the turning point for her. She finally breaks from Leroy and commits herself to fully to getting justice for Hank Gorgon. And we're going to talk about this, okay, in a few minutes. But that classic Stephen King theme, "humans are the real monsters," has never hit harder than it does here. And also, too, another thing I want to mention is the music within this show is perfectly well executed. Like, we actually see this montage of the missing kids and bodies are stacking up as well. And then Roy Orbison's "Running Scared" is a perfect placement for this as well, because of the fact that everybody is scared in this town and everybody's running from something. And I really think that they actually captured the essence of what Derry is with this song. I think that the song is really good. And if you guys don't know the song, I definitely recommend that you guys give this a chance to check it out, because I actually grew up on oldies music with my mom and stuff like that in the 1950s, 60s era and stuff like that. So I definitely like Roy Orbison. But then you have Lily showing her friends the chart. Lily wants to go back to the sewers. Veronica's like, girl, you're crazy. I'm not going to go back in there. What makes you think I want to go back in there after all the shit that happened down there?" And Lily's like, "No, I want to go down there." And then next thing you know, uh, you actually have Marge, Rich, and Will trying to convince her to go with Lily down to the sewers. And I don't blame Veronica. Veronica's like, "Look, I had enough of this. We almost got our asses killed. I told you we should have went to the cops. We didn't go to the cops. But girl, you gonna go on ahead and get me killed back in that sewer again, even though you have the chart. I'm happy that you have the chart, but nah, girl, I'm not gonna do that." Uh, but Dick goes back to his friends. Dick is still freaked out, and I loved, like I talked about this in like the last episode about how great this actress is playing Dick Hollowan, where you actually see the pain, the emotion, the panic in his eyes, and the fact that that box is now open, which is also, like I said, is a Easter egg into The Shining. Not only is it an Easter egg in The Shining, but it's also the Easter egg in Doctor Sleep, because his grandmother tells him, "Hey, look, Dick, I want you to go ahead and imagine this box, and only imagine this box, and because that's going to be in your head for the rest of your life, and I want you to put everything that you're scared of in this box." And now it has opened that box, and I like how he tells Leroy, "Am I supposed to just act like that none of this even happened? That this box is not even opened? Even if I do close the box, it doesn't change anything." So I do like that aspect of Dick giving it to him straight, giving it to Leroy straight. Veronica asking Will if she wants to she went too far, because um she actually does go see Hank, because Hank is actually hanging out where Dick and his friends are with this club. And Mrs. Kirsch brought Hank there. And my prediction was, I thought he was going to go into the black side of Derry and he was going to hide out there. But instead, she winds up hiding him out over where the club is. And whenever I first saw Dick and the guys moving in there, my first initial thought, and I didn't say this in the last couple of episodes or anything like that, I'm like, is this where the club is supposed to burn down? And if this is where the club burns down, Hank is going to die in this. And I'm wondering if Veronica is going to die in this club, and Rich and Marge are going to escape. Because remember, Veronica, we actually hear her voice in the drain where is Biv is in chapter 1, where we actually hear Veronica's voice in the drain. So it's making me think that maybe possibly that she might wind up being dead and everything, and it's all because of Mrs. Kirsch. And I'm going to explain why I think it's Mrs. Kirsch in a minute. Excuse me, guys. But then Charlie can't really stop any. Okay, so what makes it even harder is what comes after. Will being locked in his bedroom hurts so much more, because the kids literally just survived Pennywise together through the source. That near death experience pulls the group closer around Ronnie and Hank. Their emotional reunion at the black spot becomes a powerful counterpoint to how Leroy and Will fall completely apart. One relationship heals, the other shatters. And Hank knows how bad things really are before the kids even fully realize it. That's why his quiet, what's your favorite movie? Moment with Will hits so hard it feels like a test, but also a moment of pure humanity in the middle of chaos. When Will answers War of the Worlds and Hank approves, it's small, but it carries serious weight. For a show that's all about fear, violence, and trauma, love doesn't always get much room to breathe. But this episode finally lets us see something sweet with Marge and Rich. Their crush adds on emotional softness that Welcome to Derry usually doesn't prioritize. We've already seen Marge get her standout moments, but this episode really lets Rich shine, from him showing genuine care for Marge's disgusting eye injury to his surprise drum performance at the black spot. You finally get a sense of who Rich is, and he's easygoing, brave, and full of heart. I love Rich. Rich to me reminds me of myself, who has a crush on somebody. And I also like how he winds up looking in Marge's eye and goes, "Hey, let me see that. Let me see what that looks like." And she goes, "It's disgusting." No, he goes. So he ends up. She goes, "Why are you licking uh your finger?" He goes, "Oh, that's actually to remove the bandage." And so he winds up removing the bandage, and then her eye is like real. It's kind of like a lazy eye if you think about it. It's kind of like stitched shut, but you can actually see a little bit patch of an eyeball. And she goes, "It's disgusting, ain't it?" No, it's not disgusting. It looks great. But I like how that moment of him caring about Marge and him wanting to take care of her, I really do love that between the two of them. And I really have to say, I really changed my mind about Marge. At first, I'm like, I want Marge to die. Now her character's been redeemed to for me to where I can say, I really don't want her to die, but I have a feeling that she is. But I'm getting that closeness to that character of getting close to these characters where I think that they might end up dying, and it's gonna hold some emotional weight for me. But Rich and Marge help Marge with the okay. So then we have Dick and Leroy is still scared and seeing dead people. General wants to find the pillars. Dick tells Leroy about the shine and his grandmother talking about putting the things in the box, like I mentioned. Leroy wants to complete the mission. Dick is afraid that he can't put everything back in the box. Leroy and Charlotte. Charlotte's mad. We already covered that. Lily flashbacks is on Pennywise. Lily sees her dead father. That scene where she raises the desk and then you see the pickle father. That's what I'm gonna call him, the pickle father. And he's all miscombobulated and stuff. She's freaked out and she has the chard sitting on her lap. And that was just gruesome to see. And then she panics. This show has so many layers to this that I really love this. But then you also have I also want to mention one more thing about Rich, real quick. With how happy Rich feels at the end of this episode, that scares me more than Pennywise because happiness never lasts in Derry. The kids are mostly united now with Ronnie, Rich, and Marge, but something is very wrong with Lily. Ever since she picked up the a dagger from made from Pennywise's comet, she hasn't been the same. She's quicker to anger and refuses to let the blade go. At first, the dagger glowed around Pennywise like the sting from Lord of the Rings. Now it's starting to feel like the One Ring. Corruption of anyone who holds on to it. The thing is straight up bad news. And I definitely can see some layers of her getting angry, but I also feel like maybe it might not be so much of that as well. Like it's very complicated as far as the mythology around this thing, but I think some of it might be the chart, and some of it might not be the chart. It might be Veronica just holding on to the trauma and stuff in the sewer to the point where she's afraid to even do anything. So that's my 2 cents with that. But I just feel like this episode is really well grounded. So then we have out of everyone who encountered Pennywise in the sewers, it's Dick Halloran who seems to the most rattled. He stumbles back on the base immediately. And at first I thought this scene was just him having another vision again, but it's not. It's because of how they blurred out everybody around him. He's kind of like in a gaze because of everything that's happened, or a daze. But and starts ringing the cope as he tells Leroy they pissed it off. Whatever he saw down there is haunting him and it's still already pulling him away from his mission, his own conscience. We get another heated conversation between Halloran and Leroy. Leroy accuses him of holding back information, and Halloran fires back that Leroy has no idea what kind of forces he's dealing with, and that's actually true because of the fact, dude, you moved your family into this town, not knowing the danger that you're having, and then you want to go on ahead and do this mission that Halloran's probably been on this mission for a while, and he doesn't even know what kind of capabilities that this thing is actually having. Oh, excuse me. But so I feel like that the partnership between them two is completely collapsing, and that feels dangerous at this late in the game. Now, as the show heads into its final 2 episodes, the buildup of the augury starts to feel rushed, but I don't feel. Here's the thing: it feels rushed, but at the same time, it doesn't feel rushed. I feel like it's taking its time telling us everything, but I understand though as well that you want to go ahead and get down to the nitty gritty with the cosmic mythology, and has been handled, and I think it has been handled incredibly well. But the aggression spreading through Derry suddenly shifts into overdrive once news breaks that Hank escaped custody, and the town instantly reveals the dark. Here's the thing: this is what I'm thinking here. Okay, so we talked about Mrs. Kirsch, and we also talked about the fact that I didn't like Mrs. Kirsch, and I also felt like, yeah, she helped Hank. Yes, she had an affair with her husband with Hank, but at the same time, who else is gonna know that he was ever at the black spot other than her? I feel like she gave the tip over to Bowers, And now that Bowers is no longer acting police officer or sheriff in that town, he's taking it upon himself to now get his guys involved, which is why they're masked up, and going down there to burn that club down if Leroy does not come out of that club. And I just think that Veronica's in trouble, Rich is in trouble, and then Marge is in trouble. I This is just bad news all the way around. You have kids in this black spot. Not only that, but you're also hiding someone that is hiding out as a fugitive because of something that happened. Uh, I want the best for Hank, but at the same time, I have a feeling this is going to be where the club burns down. Um, then I want to talk about this too. Hold on. So a full on. Okay, so still, the boards is now fully set. The kids are banding together against Pennywise. There's a mass casualty event looming. A military cleanup operation is being teased, and the town is boiled over. Then the episode throws down one final wild card. We flash back to 1935, and we finally learn the truth about Ingrid Kirsch. She isn't just Bob Gray's daughter, the human version of Pennywise. She's also a child killer herself. She's been luring kids, like I said, to their deaths just to draw her father back to her, all because she wants her daddy's love. The twist that was originally just a quick line of It Chapter 2 and something far darker, Ingrid delivers that same rapt, I do anything for my father love monologue to Lily before Lily's barely escapes. That introduces a terrifying new variable into the story, a human villain who isn't bounded by Pennywise's rules. Here's the thing. Pennywise is playing around with Mrs. Kirsch's emotions. He's also killed Bob. He took the persona of Bob. And she's thinking that this is actually her father, which it isn't her father. But she's thinking, well, maybe if I go in here and kill a couple of kids, I get to see my daddy for a couple of hours. Yeah, good job. But here's the thing. I knew from the very beginning that she was kind of suspect. But when she helped Hank, I'm like, okay, maybe she isn't, maybe she is. I don't know. But I'm still calling her a suspect. And guess what? She is. And then you see the pictures in the background. You see Pennywise in the picture. And also, too, she was also there in the cemetery where these kids were. So that's why Bowers was able to uh, see Pennywise, or what we assumed was Pennywise, but instead it was Mrs. Kirsch in her clown outfit from when we first meet little Francis. So, so there's that. So then the twist. So we also meet Periwinkle, another child desperate for parental love, adding yet another emotional mirror and the central theme of the episode. The problem is now this storyline is complete with the Aggery, the lunch mob, the military operation, and Pennywise himself. That's a lot of spinning plates going into the finale. But I'm also going to say this. But at the same time, though, I also feel like that this is actually needed, because if this is actually where the club burns, then maybe this is, because I don't see this is going to be the final episode. I think it's going to be introducing us into something else for coming up, but I don't think it's going to be like the season finale type of thing. But we'll have to wait and see. And let's talk about Bob Gray for a second, because seeing Bill Skarsgård play him as a human with Pennywise's voice dialed up halfway was honestly upsetting in a completely different way. There's clearly more coming with the character, but right now, the Gray family storyline just still feels like it's trying to fully find its footing. At the end of the day, the name of the father does exactly what it needs to do. It risks in the chessboard the fallout from Pennywise, forces these characters to choose sides, set priorities, and decide who they're willing to protect. The kids are mostly united, but Lily's detour into Ingrid's world proves just how fragile that unity still is. Everything is now locked for what is shaping up to be the very chaotic and very dark final stretch. But I also want to mention this. I also like how we have the patty cakes again. And at first, I thought she was going to join. I thought for sure Marge was going to join the dark side again and go with the patty cakes. And I like how Rich gave her a pirate patch because, oh, I always wanted to be a pirate. And then, the patty cakes was also calling her a freak. And then she winds up getting up and she goes, "R, R," and just basically pretending to be a pirate and everything because of the eye patch and her eye being gouged out from like last time. I really have to say this episode does a fantastic job of setting everything up. Um, but yeah, and then also too the thing inside the in the club where Dick is and stuff like that too. I just feel like there's danger everywhere for these kids right now, and also too the kids are drinking. And I know it's 1960s, I get it, but come on. You gave these kids, even though the kids are not supposed to be there, you're letting them drink. And they're getting tipsy. First they got high at the sword. Now they're getting drunk. These kids are experiencing everything about life right now at an early age. But um Rich and Marge and the hangout so like I said, I think that this is where the club is really going to burn down and something is going to spark. This is where Pennywise shines right here, as far as that goes. Um, and then also too, we also see Mrs. Kirsch dress up in a clown costume again at the very end of this towards the end of this episode as well. Um, Rich playing drums, and I like the fact that I like this actor that plays Rich playing the drums, and like I said, he really shines within this. I think that this is a top-notch episode. I really love this episode. My question for you guys is this: did you like this episode? Did you not like this episode? Did it feel kind of like it dragged a little bit? Did it not drag a little bit? I like to know. And come on, guys, come on, talk to me. I like to actually know what you guys actually think about this episode because I'm telling you, this was a fire episode, as the kids say. But I just think that this was good, and yeah, so that's gonna be it as far as the show goes. I hope that you guys enjoy this. Thank you so much for watching, listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, where you guys get your podcast from. If you missed this live stream, it's okay. Catch it back on the replay. Give us a 5-star review if you find it deemable. Leave us a comment as well. I'll be glad to be going ahead and geek out with you about this episode or about any type of thing that we have. Matter of fact, we have our Stranger Things review that we just dropped over here on the channel as well that I did with Dawn. And we have plenty of shorts coming up. I'm going to try and do some more reactions pretty soon. But yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that other good stuff here at Movie Loves Unite. And I hope everyone has a great and safe night. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Justin, in the live chat on Instagram. I do appreciate that. And yeah, guys, I'm going to be out. See ya.